most trustless name in news.
How in the heck do you navigate this crypto bull run? Bitcoin's already crossing previous all-time highs before the halving. Volatility is reaching never before seen heights, and altcoins are starting to explode. Well, we're gonna show you how to navigate this bull run in about 10 minutes, because this is the ultimate surviving this bull run guide. You know the drill, it's time for Chico Crypto. Today is a video for those who are kind of new to the markets, and it's even highly important to those who aren't new, because everybody needs a solid plan for the bull run. If you don't have one, you're gonna be left holding bags that could become worthless when the big market crash happens. And it will, it always does. So the number one thing a person needs to do right now in these markets is you have to create an investment plan. But wait, Chico, my investment plan is to blindly follow what altcoins YouTubers are recommending. Please do not do that. You need to have your own personal investment thesis. You need to sit down and really think hard about where you are willing to allocate funds into these crypto markets. And you want to know what I find funny? Even global investment giants in traditional TradFi are recommending crypto exposure today. Fidelity and their new all-in-one ETFs are recommending crypto exposure in the realm of 1 to 3%. Although I recommend much more than 1 to 3% out of new funds going to invest in the crypto markets. I would recommend somewhere between 50 to 75% of your new funds going into the crypto markets, especially right now. So out of these new investment funds, you need to decide how much of that you are willing to allocate towards the crypto assets that are the leaders of the markets. In my opinion, there are only two: Bitcoin and Ethereum. So how much money will you put towards Bitcoin? How much money will you put towards Ethereum? So how much do I recommend? Well, personally, I recommend stacking the two leaders heavily early on in the markets. I would recommend allocating at least 25% to a max of 50% of new funds going into the top two crypto assets, especially at this point in the markets, because Bitcoin and Ethereum are both going to rip early on. They're gonna rip harder than altcoins, and they are the safest crypto assets out there. Even if the markets blow off their tops, these two will be back in the next bull run. You won't be holding a worthless bag of shit if shit hits the fan. So what do you do with the remaining 50% of new investment funds? Well, here is the tricky part. The part that can make you the most money: investing into altcoins. A good investment thesis for altcoins is picking sectors of the crypto markets you are personally bullish on and allocating a percentage of new investment funds into these sectors. So you have 50% of your new funds left to invest into these sectors. So what are the popular sectors, Chico? There are many crypto sectors out there to choose from, like real-world asset altcoins, RWAs, AI, gaming, GameFi, Ethereum layer 2s, Bitcoin layer 2s, DeFi, alternative layer 1s, meme coins, and many others. So for instance, you would decide to allocate 15% of these new funds into RWA altcoins, 15% into AI altcoins, 10% into GameFi, and 5% into ETH layer 2s, and finally 5% into Bitcoin layer 2s. But this has to be a personal decision of yours. But those sectors I just mentioned are the ones I'm most bullish on. So you have your investment plan in place. Step 1 is done. What is step 2? Well, step number 2 is researching the altcoin sectors you want to invest into, aka research-based decision making. Cryptocurrency is a unique asset class because every transaction is recorded on the public chain for the public to see. This means you have ample tools and information available to you to help make educated decisions, instead of having to sift through the tea leaves like in many other markets. There are so many great tools out there to help you make good research decisions. but the one I like is DeFi Llama. So I'm going to give a quick example of how to use DeFi Llama. And remember, these aren't altcoins I'm recommending, it's just what I found based off of this easy, quick research. So say one of the sectors you're interested in is DeFi. Well, let's use DeFi Llama to find rising DeFi protocols. The next thing we want to do is put in a minimum TVL, or total value locked up. We don't want a bunch of scam protocols putting in just millions to pump their protocol. We want a minimum TVL of at least 10 million to filter out a bunch of these scams. And finally, we want to sort by the top percentage gainers over the past month. As we can see, this Phoenix DEX is number 1, but the gain is abnormally high compared with others, so I would disregard that one. But as we can see, some ZK-based chains are surging in TVL. A ZK base, a DEX, is up over 7,000% over the past month. And then the ZK Lend is up over 600% over the past month. Based on this, I would start researching these further. Do they have a token? Is there an airdrop coming? Etc. Forewarning, I have not invested in either of these. It's just a quick example of how I perform my own research. So let's take one of these and research more. How about let's do ZK Base, the one with the highest TVL percentage increase. The next thing I would do would be going to Twitter to find the project. What is it? What's it about? Typing ZK Base into Twitter, we can find their main Twitter page. From their Twitter page, we can see they are an L2 scaling solution for both Ethereum and Bitcoin. Clicking into their website, we can see they have some functioning products. ZK Swap, a ZK-based swapper built for Ethereum. And they are soon building a swapper for Bitcoin. Interesting. This is one I would do more research on. Again, I have not invested in this coin, and it's not one of my picks. It's just how I began doing my research. Further research would include looking for people I follow that I trust having invested in this coin. Are there large Twitter or YouTube accounts investing or talking about it? You gotta go deep. You gotta investigate. Now that you've researched sectors and some coins, it's time for step number 3, preparing your entry strategy. How will you invest in these crypto assets? Many people get caught up in the hype of the markets and buy crypto altcoins at the top when people are FOMOing into them. Do not be a FOMO chaser. I always try to make my investments when the coins are down, they're in the red. Sometimes that works out to my advantage, sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, it does. So please don't try and buy the top of these FOMO-based altcoins. A good strategy, though, to not buy the top, dollar cost averaging, or DCA. DCA allows you to spread out your investment over time, reducing the risk associated with trying to time the market perfectly. In the world of crypto assets, where volatility is the norm, DCA can be your best friend. It involves investing a fixed amount of money at regular intervals for a crypto asset, regardless of the asset's price. So you figured out your entry strategy. What's the final step? Well, this one could be considered the hardest step of all. Step number 4 is to set your profit targets and stick to them with each crypto asset you invest in. One of the biggest mistakes in investing is not knowing when to take profits. This is especially true for cryptocurrency, where the market is driven by emotion, social media, overnight sensations, and let's face it, straight up greed. So you need to know when to take profits and how you will take those profits. So let's begin with the first part of this step. When to take profits. Now this is different for each crypto asset, but to begin, let's start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. How high do you think Bitcoin will go? You always want to try and time the top and exit out the top, even if you aren't exactly on. So how do we get near the top? Well, as many people know, Bitcoin has already peaked at its former all-time high of 69K. So Bitcoin reaching at least 100K this bull cycle is very, very likely. In my opinion, it will probably surge at least a bit further than 100K. So based on the recent price movements, I'm going to begin selling some of my Bitcoin at 125K. My plan this time around is to sell 50% once Bitcoin crosses 125,000. And then every 10K move up, I will sell another 10%, aka 10% more at 135K, 10% more at 145K, 10% more at 155K, 10% more at 165K, and finally the last 10% at its 175K. With this profit-taking strategy, I'm going to secure gains and not let a large majority of those gains be left to the dust when the bubble pops. You cannot let your emotions and the hype of markets cloud your judgment. You need to make this decision to take profits and stick to that plan. I'm doing a similar thing with Ethereum, but my target to sell 50% is 7K, and then every 1K added, I'll be selling another 10%. 10% at 8K, 10% at 9K, 10% at 10K, 10% at 11K, and the final 10% at 12K if it reaches that. But what about altcoins? Well, it depends on if you are a long-term believer in that altcoin or not. Some altcoins I hold for the long term, like Chainlink and GMX. Some I take profits on when certain targets are met, like many of the AI altcoins, which are hype altcoins for this bull. Once I get at least a 3x on an AI altcoin, I start taking profits, cashing out 50%, and then every next X, I take another 10%. AKA, at 4x, I take 10%, 5x, another 10%, 6x, another 10%, 7x, another 10%, and then if it hits an 8x, I cash out the remaining 10%. Well, viewers, this is the ultimate guide to this bull market cycle. You need to, number 1, make an investment strategy. Number 2, research the coins. Number 3, find your entry or entries. And number 4, finally make a profit target and stick to that. Do not forget this. It will be highly important in the months to come. Cheers. I'll see you next time.
The most trustless name